can break the practices down into 3 stages. One is pair practices, where we'll really guide you in connection with someone else, just to get a chance to feel what it's like to be in connection and to put words to it in the moment. So it's less of a conversation and more naming, oh, when I'm with you, I feel this tension in my throat and it's a bit hard to get my words out. And then the other person will be, oh, hearing that, I start to feel bad because maybe I'm pressuring you. And then, so it's not a conversation, but it's this sharing of truth, and then slowing down to see how it's impacted, see how we're impacted. And there's quite a few pair practices that support that process of deep authenticity with each other. And then the next practice is where one person gets the attention of maybe 6 people, and we explore being with them in their world. So it's that person gets this kind of attention which isn't trying to change them or make them wrong. It's actually just like quite soft in like, what's happening for you now? Like, what's it like to be you right now, having these people giving you their attention? And it's also for those 6 people to share with you how they're impacted by you. And that practice is beautiful because for most people, they've never actually had the attention of 6 people and then had genuine curious inquiry into what it's like for them. And it seems such a simple thing, but I had never had that. Most people haven't had an experience like that. And it goes very organically. And it needs skillful leading from the facilitator to make sure that we're not making the person wrong or subtly like trying to change their experience. And maybe some sadness comes up for that person and someone might want to, oh, it's okay. But we will like really like, well, what's the sadness like, or what kind of sadness? So we're not trying to steer them anywhere, but we're really trying to open the space for who they are while they're being witnessed. And that takes people on quite a profound journey that opens up a lot of, brings a lot of insight for people and takes them to new possibilities. And then the last part of the practice, which is something we developed in Circling Europe, is surrendered leadership. And that's where, when people have learnt the principles of the basic principles of the practice, is we'll actually sit in a circle, and the idea is that everyone brings their highest leadership to the space. And in that way, so we're going to just sit in the unknown, be together, and see what comes up. And the idea is that you try not to make wrong what's happening, and you show up in a way that's inspiring, or that you show up in a way that's vulnerable, and you show up in your need for what you need. But that practice is quite different in that can really be like a microcosm of your life. And again, you can get this feedback that shocks you a bit, but then you get the chance to make new moves and get feedback on that. And one thing we see is so often when people actually do just really show what's happening for them, like, oh, I don't know if I should speak up in the circle now. I feel like I should, but I'm scared of how people are going to receive me. And when people speak very honestly, it's like the reflection from the circle is like nearly always very positive. And it's more complex than that, but often you'll be very well received, and you start to get this sense of like, oh yeah, when I really speak from my heart, it touches people and it inspires people, and maybe it triggers 1 or 2 people, and like that's interesting as well. But the reflection is the amount of reflecting that happens in that kind of space can really give you a ton of feedback and help you to step into new territory in your life. And that way also it becomes, from that practice you can start to take it into your life a little bit more, because you start to see how whatever situation you're in your life, you could actually look at it that way of like, okay, this is going on now. Am I going to be in victim to this? Am I going to be in blaming to what's happening in my environment, or am I going to like really take it in, embrace that that's happening, and then like find what is my power, what is my gift to this situation, what is my leadership, like what's my self-leadership in this situation. And that's just a perspective shift that circling helps make us more aware of. And it's not a miracle cure, and you know, so many people have this experience in a circling, then they'll go home and then it's like they get in an argument straight away, and they're like, you need to go to circling, and then we're like, no, it's not about that, it's about how you show up in your life. It's not about other people doing this practice. So it's a journey with it, but step by step. I used to hate it because I'd love circling, and I'd come back into my life, and then I'd keep it for a few days, and then it would crash, and I'd be like, oh God, I've got these two different lives. But then after a while, I started to realize what was happening. It would be that I would feel such strong things back in my normal life. Like I walked into my house and I just felt disgust. And then I started to think, oh, I'm losing the magic now. And then instead I was like, oh, well, what's the disgust telling me? It's like, my room's a mess. I don't actually like living in this environment like this. And actually, when I look out the window, I'm not sure I even want to be living here. And that was the first seeds of me starting to move away and live somewhere better. And another example is where I got an email from someone I work with, and I just, like, my reaction of anger was so strong. It was just like, I wanted to email back, say, fuck you, just fuck off. And I knew that that wasn't the right thing to do. And I almost again started to think like, oh, I've lost the magic. But then I managed to stay with the anger and like, what's this anger really about? And it's like, oh, it's not just about this person. It's about all the people I work with. And then that's, oh, what is it? It's like, oh, I'm not really fulfilled in this job. And then that was confronting of like, shit, I think I'm going to have to leave this job. But in following those threads and like changing my life, I got to live the magic that I had experienced in circling, which was this aliveness, this sense of being on a hero's quest journey, this sense of fresh experience, like on a daily basis, experiencing something that I'd never experienced before in my life. And it's not always easy. It could be the dragons coming at me, but it certainly made my life go from black and white to color.